welcome to the Money Sauce Podcast. This is podcast number 14, week 16 in the PHL. Saucy here alone this week, and you know what? Completely on me. Um, Last night, being Tuesday night, Garrett and I jumped on as we usually do. We had a great chat. There was a couple breaking-ish news items as we usually do. We talked about the week, and then we talked about a TSN article that was put out that asked basically when you think of all 32 NHL teams, first thing that comes to mind for each team, who is your who do you think of as like the face of the franchise? Um, we did it without researching or anything, so we had a level of spontaneity, and it was a fun conversation. Um, I forgot to hit record. I know, I'm sorry. Not a good job by myself there. So, anyways, it is what it is. Uh, we we we're not going to try to recapture that spontaneity or anything like that about that TSN article. I'll post a link to the article for your reading pleasure in the episode description. Um, Tonight, I'm just gonna be going solo, bringing you the breaking-ish news, and of course the results of the matchups in week 16, and we will have a little look of where we're at almost halfway through the week. So first thing in breaking-ish news, Alex Leon, the goaltender of the Buffalo Sabres, set, well, not set, tied a Buffalo Sabres record by getting 9 straight wins. And in his 9th win, he actually got a shutout win. So, congratulations to Leon and of course the Buffalo Sabres, the official team of the Money Sauce podcast. Um, the other thing we've talked about in the past is the outdoor games in the NHL. We already had the Winter Classic, but coming up next is the Stadium Series game, and that will take place this Sunday in Tampa at Raymond James Stadium, which is the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the NHL released some screenshots on what the setup is going to look like. And I thought I'd just quickly pull that up and share it with you. They basically made the rink in the middle of a pirate ship, Matt. So you've got all the wooden planks under the rink is what it looks like. Of course, it's just a design around. And you've got the map with the water and the old school pirate treasure type branding, uh, visual, however you want to call it. So that looks kind of cool. That's something different. And I believe we talked about it before, but the Sabres, or sorry, the Sabres, the Sabres, who are the official team of the Money Sauce podcast, are not playing in this game. I meant to say the Lightning and the Bruins are playing this game. They have a couple special marks here. Let's call them special logos. There's a typical Boston B with like the bear claws in behind it, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning have a skull with a lightning bolt kind of in the forehead of the skull. And here's the uniform or the jersey that the Lightning will be wearing. It's a Tampa Bay blue jersey. That makes sense. TBL, Tampa Bay Lightning, word mark kind of diagonally across the front of the chest. It's colored in like a lightning in the blue sky kind of pattern. And if you notice on the sleeves here, that skull pattern, and it looks like the team's primary logo are kind of set in the stripe on the sleeve there as kind of like an indented kind of pattern within the stripe. And the Bruins will be wearing these jerseys, these bright yellow with white cuffs, white gloves, um, just a Boston word mark with a old school kind of feel. Black Bruin with the word Bruins in yellow on it. The numbers look a little bigger than usual on the sleeves there. And the socks are a little bit new of a different striping pattern for Boston there. The side of the pants also have that bear claw kind of slashing effect on them as well. So yeah, that's the Boston Tampa Bay Stadium Series game that's happening this weekend. The other note that Garrett and I talked about, and it just didn't really, it doesn't feel right completely rehashing it without Garrett here, but on Sunday, the Toronto Maple Leafs played the Colorado Avalanche. Maple Leafs star Michael Nylander was in the press box. He's injured, and he was caught in a picture basically flipping the bird. Um, he's since come out. He's apologized. He constantly keeps saying, "I'm just frustrated that I'm not playing right now. Shouldn't have done it. I'm sorry." Blah blah blah. The NHL fined him $5,000, which is the maximum they can fine him for that. In a nutshell, Garrett and I talked about it. I think we both feel like maybe different levels of disappointment, but disappointment nonetheless. Nylander is supposed to be a professional. He is supposed to be able to take any kind of um, instinct or whatever you may call it and kind of push it aside and not not react like that. And frankly, the sound bits I've heard on his apology just feel like he just keeps saying, no matter how, the questions come at him a little differently, he just keeps saying, "I'm frustrated, I'm not playing, I'm sorry. I'm frustrated, I'm not playing, I'm sorry." It feels kind of like a non-apology to me. Garrett also mentioned, he feels like that, I think the exact quote is that picture basically sums up this team to him. Um, just a bunch of kids, maybe not kids, but a bunch of guys that just, they don't really care. Um, they're there, they're making their money, they're playing hockey for a living, great for them. But, you know, winning maybe doesn't matter as much to them, or being a professional and all that kind of stuff isn't as important to them. Anyways, we're both disappointed in Nylander, the way he acted. Not to mention he's supposed to be, a role model for kids, if there are any kids that still watch this team. Um, who knows? I'm sure there are. But, you know, if you know that you're in a position in the public eye where you're supposed to be someone, or you potentially could be someone that these kids are looking up to, all you can really say is, you know, come on, man, give your head a shake. You gotta do better than that. We'll see what happens. I guess that's it, really. I don't think anything will happen. He'll eventually come back and he'll play, and that'll, this will be a thing of the past. And yeah, eh, when you compound all that together with the time that, there was the contract talks and, not, and, of course, this was a different GM and all that kind of stuff, but the Leafs kind of giving into that, maybe not giving into it. Maybe they should have been more difficult and let him sit for a bit and see what they could have got. But yeah, it's just a lot of, I don't know, maybe the welcome is starting to wear out on Nylander. A lot of people, I'm not one of them, but a lot of people felt like the welcome was worn on Mitch Marner. Is Matthews next after Nylander? I can understand why fans of this team are becoming disgruntled. They've had a collection of talent that's, like Garrett said, potentially the best collection of talent they've ever had, but certainly the best collection of talent they've had in a very long time. And they just keep kind of coming up short. And at some point, it's not the coach. At some point, it's not the GM. At some point, it's the players, right? So, the Leafs are in an interesting situation where, if the clock is striking on Nylander's time now, if people are really getting sick of him, it's not easy to just blow it up and rebuild it as if it's just gonna, another uh, Matthews or Nylander or Marner aren't just necessarily sitting around the corner to be drafted. It's not necessarily that easy. Edmonton is a perfect example of that. So it might not be a case of just blowing things up because it's not as easy as all that. Anyways, Leafs will be a team to follow, especially if they miss the playoffs this year. But back to the PHL action. This week, the matchup of the week was a matchup between myself and Marcel. Marcel picked up the win 73.4 to 63.1. For me, Jack Eichel was the player of the week, 6 points on the week. That would be the third week in a row that Jack Eichel has been the player of the week for me, and third time this season as well. On Marcel's side of things, Dougie Hamilton, sorry, Matt Zuccarello was the player of the week with a 9.2. So big week there. As I almost made the mistake there, Dougie Hamilton with an 8.8, a great week as well. Stepping up to the plate when New Jersey's trying to sell him. So, maybe he's getting some value for himself to get himself out of New Jersey. Who knows? Next game, Colin and Uncle Paul all just went off 93.3 points. Well, Colin had a 62.2. So, um, Colin came in quite a bit under projections at 80.95 there. But when you play somebody that hot, there's not much you can do. Player of the week for the fourth time this year would be Nathan MacKinnon, 7.4 points on the week for Colin. And on Paul's side, Anaheim's Lucas Dostal was the player of the week with 11.9 points. And we would be remiss if we didn't point out that Dustin Wolf had his stint, I think, cut short as, yeah, Colin dropped Dustin Wolf. So Dustin Wolf's time with Colin's squad lasted about 2 weeks, and I guess week one was okay, but week two he got minus 1.1, and unlike Garrett, who stuck with him for a bit, Colin's cutting bait now. Pete and Rick are next up on the docket, and Rick picked up the win on this one, 58 to 47.10. Pete's side of things, Anthony Sorelli with a 6.2 points. Player of the week on Rick's side of things, Dylan Strom, 9.6. Nope, sorry. Morgan Geeky with a 9.8. So, um, big week there and an important win for Rick. The Garretts faced off next. G Money with the big win, 83 points. Garrett Neustrad with 58 points. So for Garrett Neustrad, the player of the week, potentially the player of the season for him, is David Pasternak with an 8.2 on the week. That's his fourth time as the player of the week. And for G Money, Quinn Hughes with a 10.7 for the second time of the year, player of the week for Garrett. For G Money there. On to Dave and Dan. So Dan had a huge win this week, 80.8 points over the 79 points of Dave, which, not a bad week either. On Dave's side of things, Evan Bouchard, 8.1 points, player of the week for the second time. And on Dan's side of things, the soon to be departed, or now departed, Kryly Kaprizov with a 13.5 points. Big week for him. And that helped Dan pick up a win. And we'll finish off this week's matchups with Captain and the Tyler Bay Lightning. 82 points on the board for Ty, 55.8 on the board for Captain. For Captain, it was Matthias Samuelsson who was the player of the week. No, it wasn't. It was Vladimir Tarasenko with a 9-point week. Very big week for Vladimir there. And on Ty's side of things, for the fourth time this season, Nikita Kucherov with 8.5 points, earning himself the player of the week. So, how does that make things look when it comes to the standings? First of all, congratulations to Marcel. With his win this week, he locked in the first playoff spot, so he's going to the playoffs. Um, Myself and Ty fighting for second place with a 10-6 record. Paul, Garrett Goodison, and Rick are all at 9-7, fighting for the fourth place spot. Colin at 8-8 is sitting in seventh, all on his own there. And Dave and Garrett Neustrad and Dan are all fighting for that eighth and final playoff spot with 7-9 records. And Pete and Captain are still looking at 4-12, still towards the bottom there, but they're not dead yet. So um, going into this week, Garrett and I had a look at this as well, and it looks like there will be no opportunity for anybody to lock up a playoff spot this week, because even if we go me and Ty, or one of us go 11-6 with 3 games left. No, the most that Dave, Garrett Neustrad, and Dan can get with 3 games left plus this week, so with 4 scores to be final, they could reach us at the 10-9 mark if Ty and I lose out. 8, 9, 10. And they could reach us with 11 wins because of this week's matchup as well. So yeah, this is we kind of tripped through this when Garrett and I were talking about it too. But 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's four results left, so they could get up to 11. So 11 wins on the season will not be enough to guarantee a playoff spot for myself and Ty. So Marcel's kind of out there on a plateau on the top of the league by himself, at least for a couple more weeks. We'll see if we can see some upsets and somebody, hopefully Ty and myself, catch up. We'll see what happens. Obviously, I say hopefully Ty and myself, but really I just mean hopefully myself. Just bugging you, Ty. Um, so here we go. This is the week 17 matchups. Now, this is about 9 o'clock Wednesday night where I am going through these scores just to give you an idea. Normally, when we go through these scores, it is Tuesday night. So just something to remember as I go through these. First up is myself and Pete. It is 13 points for myself, 17 for Pete. Yeah, who likes me for 55 and likes Pete for 44. Next up is Colin and Captain. 14.1 for Colin. Yeah, who likes him for 61 points. 12.3 for Captain. Yeah, who likes Captain for 46 points. Next up, we've got Rick and Garrett. Rick currently has 29.4 points, and Yahoo likes him for 68. Garrett has 23 points, and Yahoo likes him for an even 60. Garrett Neustrad and Paul. Um, Garrett Neustrad has 30.9 points, and Yahoo likes him for 71 points. Meanwhile, Paul has 28.4 points, and Yahoo likes him for 76 points on the week. Dave and Marcel, which is the Yahoo matchup of the week. I have a feeling all the matchups of the week going forward are going to be Marcel versus whomever. Currently, the score is 21.6 for Dave, 27.9 for Marcel. Yahoo likes Dave to get 63 points and likes Marcel to get 73 points. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that matchup of the week. And finally, we have Dan and Ty. Dan is sitting at 10.3 points, and Yahoo likes him for 45 points this week, whereas Ty is at 26.1, and Yahoo likes him for 74 points this week. Couple quick trade notes as we get closer to the trade deadline. I'm just going to run through these really quick with just loading them up here. Bear with me. We had a lot going on in the past week. So first, we had Claude Giroux and Anthony Cirelli going to Garrett Neustrad. Yep. And he also will get a 11th round pick after keepers. Pete's going to get an 1 round upgrade, so he's going to get a 10th round pick. He got Logan Stankoven from Carolina and Enze Kopitar from LA. So Garrett and Pete with a trade. Next up, Ty and Captain. Captain's receiving James Van Riemsdyk and Artem Zub from Ottawa. And he's also getting a 4th round draft pick. And Ty in return is getting Philip Forsberg, Gabriel Landeskog, and a 8th round draft pick. We had Ty again with a trade. This time he picked up Steven Stamkos, Kryly Kaprizov, a 7th round pick, an 8th round pick, and a 10th round pick from Dan. In return, Ryan McLeod and Tyler Bertuzzi are going to Dan. It's a 2nd round, a 3rd round, and a 5th round after keeper's pick. Finally, Pete's at it again, and with me. So I traded Dylan Gunther to Pete, the player from Utah. I've had some success with him this year, but probably not on my keeper radar. So okay to move on from him. I've also sent Pete a 6th round pick and of course a 12th round pick. In return, I got Maddie. I can't say names. This one's for you, Marcel. Maddie Bernays from Seattle, and I got a 3rd round pick as well as a 10th round pick from Pete there. The 3rd round pick, by the way, is originally from Paul. The 10th round pick is originally from Karen Neustrad, and that 19th round pick that I sent to Pete is originally from Dan. So these are picks that have been traded a couple times. Anyways, that's the transactions going on right now as we move closer to the final weeks of the season here. We have got the trade deadline coming up. So this will be the final full round before this round 17 that we're in the midst of, before the trade deadline. And just to confirm, whoops, excuse me, the trade deadline. Where does it say last day to trade a player is February 25th? And this is going to be interesting because I said we have week 17, which is our current week, and then we have 1, 2, 3 weeks left. Week 18 is going to really be, let me just pull it up here, about a month long, I believe it said. Where did it say this? There was an announcement from Yahoo, and I'm not going to be able to find it right now. Let's just move on. Week 18, we can see here in the matchup screen, starts February 2nd and ends March 1st because we have our Olympic break in that time frame. So, like we said, for towards the end of that round, which is Wednesday, February 25th, we will have our trade deadline, and then we're off to the last few days of week 18, and we will have week 19 and week 20 left with our I'm going to say intact rosters, but obviously there's ads and drops still allowed. Something that we should probably also have a quick look at before we say goodnight here is how many moves have people used at this point. We know that Pete has used his 30 moves. So come that trade deadline, that'll kind of be it. And that's probably why Pete's so active on the trading market, and good on him. Garrett is at 25, Marcel's at 21. I'm also at 21. You see Ty at 17, Paul at 15, Rick at 14, Colin at 13, Dave at 18, Gerd Neustrad at 10, and I'm pretty sure all 10 of them were moving William Nylander onto the IR as many times as he's had to this season. Dan at 11, and captain with the least used at 7. So there we go. That'll be it for this week, guys. Sorry again about screwing up, not hitting the recording button last night. But we will be back again next week, and I'm gonna stay confident in saying that I think we have a really cool topic that we are going to speak about. Until next week, thanks guys, and please remember, like, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. Really helps with the algorithms and all that kind of stuff to get our podcast out there for all those people that have no clue what the PHL is. Good night.